Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, HaRakah, Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah, and this is the book of Judges, the 8th chapter. Judges 8 and 1. And the men of Ephraim said unto him, Why hast thou served us thus, that thou callest us not when thou wentest to fight with the Midianites? They did chide with him sharply. All right. So basically complaining, arguing, chiding. You can look it up, but chiding is more or less, showing some form of anger. All right. Verse 2. And he said unto them, What have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? Now, Abiezer is a house within Manasseh that he belongs to. All right, Gideon. And he's basically saying, the grapes of gleaning that are left for day of, the welfare system of Israel, whereby you'd leave like a part. You wouldn't glean all the grapes. You'd leave like enough on your trees and whatnot for those that are less favorable circumstance to basically go about and take some onto themselves. All right. But the point being, he's saying that Ephraim's gleaning is better than the vintage that the whole of his house, Abiezer, would have. So just saying, like, you lot are complaining, but we ain't got it like you. All right. The Most High have delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb, and Zeb. And what was I able to do in comparison of you? Then their anger was abated toward him when he had said that. So he basically quelled their anger. All right, soft words turneth away wrath. All right, and Gideon came to Jordan and passed over, he and 300 men, the 300 choice men that were with him, faint, yet pursuing them. And he said unto the men of Succoth, Give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint, and I am pursuing after Zebah and Zolomuna, kings of Midian. And the princes of Succoth said, Are the hands of Zebah and Zolomuna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thine army? And Gideon said, Therefore then the Lord Yahweh have delivered Zebah and Zolomuna into mine hand, when I will tear your flesh with thorns of the wilderness and the briars, and with briars. And he went up thence to Peniel, and spake unto them likewise. And the men of Peniel answered him as the men of Succoth, and had answered him. And he spake also unto the men of Peniel, saying, When I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Okay, so basically these are, men of Israel, Israelites, right? But basically not all Israel is of Israel. They are allotted to that wicked lot of Israel. They really had no issue. It reminds me of it's similar to that of after Moses delivered the Israelite, the Hebrew that was getting beaten, and then slew the Egyptian. And then the next day when he saw the two Hebrews fighting amongst themselves and tried to settle the whole issue, bring it to cease the issue between the two, saying, look, you're Hebrews, stop fighting amongst each other. They said, what? They said, look, what, you're going to slew us like you did that Egyptian. All right? That's the kind of attitude they take towards, a man that's looking for their own, looking out for their interests. That was the word I was going to use. It's right there, but it's escaped me now. Looking out for, their own benefit. All right? But they don't care. They don't mind being in captivity. They want to be wicked and goth. They don't mind, the Midianites ruling over them. All right? But what did Gideon say? He said, all right, you ain't going to aid us. You're going to help us. You don't believe we can do it. You don't have that faith that we'll do that. All right, then when it gets done, I'm coming back according to the things that he said. Verse 10, and Zebah and Zulamuna were in Karkor, and their hosts with them, about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the hosts of the children of the east. For there fell 122,000 men that drew sword. So the Lord already delivered them from the bulk of their army. All right, 120,000. All right, and what did they do? 300 men just took lamps inside of pots. All right, inside of clay potsherds, smashed it on the floor, blew the horn, and then said, "This is the sword of Gideon." And in that, you had 120,000 men die. All right, and there's only 15,000 left. But still, there's a great lack of faith in that instance. All right, verse 11, and Gideon went up by the way of them that dwelt in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and smote the host, for the host was secure. All right, so basically in a pocket where they couldn't move, and it'll be easy for them to be discomfited. All right, verse 12, and when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them and took the two kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomfited all the host. And Gideon the son of Joash returned from the battle before the sun was up, and caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and inquired of him. And he described unto him the princes of Succoth, and the elders thereof, even 70 men. So basically 77 men. Okay. And he came unto the men of Succoth and said, Behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom ye did upbraid me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thy men that are weary. And he took the elders of the city and thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth, and he beat down the tower of Penuel. I'll say Penuel. It's a bit easier. And he beat down the tower of Penuel and slew the men of the city. Then said, and he judged them accordingly, all right, and rightly so, because they didn't believe that. If anything, they should have gave him and them bread, whatever they wanted, in terms of sustenance, and they should have got up and said, let's go and help you. Right, that's what it should have been. But they didn't even want to help. They didn't want to aid them by giving them any form of sustenance. And then look, Gideon came back and set pace. Verse 18, then said he unto Zebah and Zalmunna, what manner of men were they whom ye slew at Tabor? And they answered, as thou art, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. All right, and rightly so, because why? We're Israelites. All right, the children of Yasha Allah, he is a prince of power. All right, or a prince with God. All right, which is a king over Israel. So we're princes as well. So he's saying these kings, they slew, other Manassites that were kindred unto, as it's gonna say, unto Gideon. But when they were described by these Ishmaelites, they basically told, or the Arabs as they're known today, they basically said they look like princes, basically. That's how regal and, the way we're built, and the way we're even till all now still built in, those that are not diluted, so to speak, in their being. All right, but even so, it's like for the most part, we're weak right now, and one of them curses. Verse 19, and he said, they were my brethren, even the sons of my mother, as the Lord Yahweh liveth. If ye had saved them alive, I would not slay you. All right, so that's what Gideon's saying. Verse 20, and he said unto Jephthah, his firstborn, up and slay them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth. All right, so that young man, his firstborn, was fearful looking at the kings, because why? He was still a young man, and to slew them, he didn't have that gumption. to be able to do so. All right. Verse 21, and Zebah and Zalamuna said, rise thou and fall upon us, for as the man is, so is his strength. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalamuna, and took away the ornaments that were on the camels' necks. And the men of Israel said unto Gideon, rule over us, both thou and thy son, and thy son's son also, for thou hast delivered us from the hand of Midian. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord Yahweh shall rule over you. All right, and that's true to what we going to that back to Samuel. All right, when the children of Israel basically said, look, give us a king like all the other heathen nations, showing you their real, desire, their eyes wandering and looking at other nations and wanting to be like them. And Samuel plainly told them, like, look, the Most High is your power. You're a unique nation in the sense that the Most High power is your God, all right? Is your king, sorry. But they desired a king, all right? But Gideon is establishing that point. This is a little bit prior to that, all right? And he's going according to the law, which was established from the beginning. Verse 24, and Gideon said unto them, I would desire a request of you, that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey, for they had golden earrings because they were Ishmaelites. I guess that was a cultural thing of the time. And they answered, we will willingly give them. And they spread a garment and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the golden earrings they requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, beside ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was of the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about the camels' necks. And Gideon made an ephod thereof, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah. And all Israel went thither a-whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. All right, so he brought peace in his time of reign, or after he basically judged Israel. Well, he judged Israel after the fact, after he saved Israel from the Midianites, the captivity of the children of the east. Verse 29, and Jerubbaal the son of Joash went and dwelt in his own house, and Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives, so he had 70 children. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son whose name he called Abimelech. And Gideon the son of Joash died in a good old age, and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash his father in Ophrah at the Abiezerites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again and went a-whoring after Balaam and after Baal-berith, their power, all right, their God. So basically, as you can see, is the trend of this book is that anytime a judge is risen up, what happens? You have them pass away at some point, and then all their works that they did and everything that they maintained in keeping the children of Israel near unto their Heavenly Father gets taken out in one swoop. As soon as they pass on, they translate into the spiritual realm. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, so they even forgot about his house, his kindred. They just fanned the hand at them and said, F him, namely Gideon, according to all their goodness which he had showed unto Israel. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Say shalom, shalom.